Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farm, the podcast. I am your host, Jace Young, and today's topic of discussion is this: leadership and psychology. So, last week we had a boardroom event with some of our members inside the Legacy Farmer. Typically, every quarter to 120 days, we have a meeting here, and we all get together in Kansas City. So, on average, we have anywhere between 26 to basically 40 of our farmers and ranchers and customers from across the country flying in to attend that 2-day event. Now, that event is extremely powerful because everybody in that room is a big business owner doing multiple millions per year in revenue and trying to really just have the accountability and be in a room with people that are all pushing each other forward and sharing content, sharing what's working and not working when it comes to every angle of their operation, whether that's finance, operations, management, it doesn't matter, right? We are sharing everything in that room. What makes it so powerful too is the conversations that we're having there. These are conversations that our customers cannot have back at home, right? Because you are not going to share, personal financial information with your neighbor down the road, most likely, right? Or anybody really in town, because, we all know what happens in small towns and with people talking and stuff like that. Now, the conversation today, guys, is around leadership and psychology. Now, I'm going to relate this to farming and ranching and just running a farm operation, because this was a very powerful topic that came up for us at the event there over the weekend. And I took everybody through a training, and that training that I call to really that exposes the psychology around leading somebody is called strategic seduction, right? And so I have a whole long training that all of our members get access to inside a Legacy Farmer. But the thing is when you think about leadership inside of farming and ranching, right? And I'm going to go back to like when I was growing up on the farm, there is a massive, massive disconnect between leadership and really just telling somebody what to do, right? So when I'm honestly just telling somebody what to do, there's no leadership there. And the reason for that is because I'm just managing them. I'm not teaching them, training them, building them, growing them, right? When I look at leadership, and now what that term really means to me is I am leading somebody to become a better version of themselves, right? And it's just no different than leading your own life and trying to push yourself to become more and become better and improve your skill sets, whatever that may be. When it comes to leadership and psychology, when it comes to leading people on your team inside of your farm operation, the same principles apply, right? But again, think back to how you were raised or how you were treated on the family operation growing up. Because when I look at how I was raised, there was no leadership involved there, right? My dad told me what to do. If I didn't do it right, most of the time I would get in trouble. If I screwed up bad, I would get my ass ripped for the most part. But the thing is, I don't hold any of that against him, because my granddad did the same thing to him. And then my granddad's father did the same thing to him, right? So there's this thing going on down the line from generation to generation, where as I've gotten older, I've understood why my dad was the way he was and why my granddad was the way that he was, as I've learned more about their childhoods and their life growing up and everything like that. But the thing is, though, when you create this environment and this culture inside of your business, and again, this is relevant to all businesses, not just even farm operations, but when you create this culture and this environment inside of your operation where you are just telling people what to do without taking the time to teach them and train them and coach them and consult them, those 4 phases right there that I just said, they go in that order for a reason. We have another big training on that inside of Legacy Farmer, because those terms right there are extremely powerful. When you have somebody coming in brand new to your operation, you're going to be spending a majority of the time teaching and training them, right? Telling them basically by the book, hey, this is exactly what you do. This is how you do it. And just so they can get the lay of the land of the entire operation and how the whole thing functions. But the thing is, though, is where leadership and psychology really comes into play is when you as the business owner step into the coaching and consulting phase. What that means is your team they've already been taught, they've already been trained, they know the functions of the operation. Where the coaching and consulting side of you comes in, and where the true leadership side of you comes in, is we are no longer telling them what to do. If our team is coming to us with an issue, we need to know how to psychologically get them to the solution without us just telling them what it is. Because as you guys know, the one constant variable in business is everything is always changing, right? So we can teach and train people as much as we possibly can. But the reality is in business, they're going to face certain scenarios that even you or me have not faced before, right? There's going to be changes, right? There's going to be one-off situations that happen where we have to think on our feet. And when those people come to you, you can either be pissed off and angry that they're coming to you with that situation and you just tell them what to do, which is not building them at all. And honestly, it's creating this culture where they're scared to even talk to you because of how you respond. That's what happened inside of our farm operation for a number of years there. Just based on the way that my dad treated me, but again, the way my granddad treated everybody in the operation, right? It was, he just built that culture and that environment. So your team members coming to you with this type of situation, you have to understand methodically and psychologically, how can I lead them to making the right decision, right? Ultimately getting to the end result that's going to be best. But here's the difference though, guys, is if you tell somebody what to do versus asking them questions and lead them to the answer. But the thing is they arrive at it themselves because you were asking them questions. You were being more of a coach and consultant to them. it is going to be that much more impactful on them. You are going to build up their confidence because they arrived at the answer themselves, but also from a learning standpoint and just remembering standpoint, they're going to remember that much more because they came up with the solution themselves, right? So when it comes to leadership and psychology, guys, it's not about telling people what to do. It's about being masterful at the art and science of asking the right questions. That's what I mean here. You have to understand the psychology around how people make decisions and how you can ask the right questions to lead them to that end result there. Whether or not you know what the end result needs to be or not, that's irrelevant. We want to lead them there so that they arrive at that conclusion themselves. One, so it's just cemented in their mind that much more. But two, now they've come up with the answer themselves, right? Their confidence and their leadership abilities are building inside of themselves, right? And for them mentally, and that's a huge thing when it comes to the farm operation. So again, we had this whole training. Again, we call the concept strategic seduction inside a legacy farmer. It was taught to me by one of my mentors. From a marketing perspective, it's a great concept to understand, but just from an overall leadership and leading people and getting people to do what you want them to do, but do it in the right way where you're building their leadership skills and building their confidence and building just that person. That's the right way to do it over there as well. So you guys, again, when you're looking at this and thinking about just some of you guys that may be listening to this, that you do have a team that you're working with inside the operation, next time one of them comes up to you and says, hey, this is a situation I'm running into. What do I do? Don't tell them what to do. Ask them questions that ultimately lead them to solution. Even if you know what the answer needs to be because you have more experience than them, which is why you're in the coach consultant type role, ask them questions so that they discover that answer themselves. Again, so it cements it that much more in their mind, builds that confidence in them as well. But there's, again, some of you guys, you may be like, well, I don't know what questions to ask. Okay, so let me help you guys out here a little bit. Somebody comes to you with a situation, right? Ultimately, you know what the answer should be, but again, you don't want to tell them and rob them of their growth from having to think critically through this and come to that solution. Here's what you can say. Have you considered blah, blah, blah? Have you considered the possibility of doing this? That word considered there, guys, is really important because it's getting them to think. Well, have you considered, doing this with the whatever in the operation instead of that? Now, the benefit here is now it's an open-ended question, so we're pushing them to think versus just telling them what to do. And then after you ask them that question, you can say, well, in my experience, this is what worked best for me potentially last time, but what do you think about that, right? Again, you're kind of telling them what to do there or what worked in the past without telling them exactly what to do. We want them to arrive at the solution themselves. And when it comes to psychology and leadership, guys, holy crap, that's a game changer for you. You will notice such a drastic improvement, one, in how you lead as the business owner, but two, how your team responds to you, right? They're going to be more comfortable coming to talk to you about things. And that's where we want to get to, because the other side too is when you're constantly just in teaching and training mode and you're stuck there for decades, which a majority of farmers and ranchers are, it's because they are running a centralized operation and they're micromanagers where they've built an operation where everything has to come through them and they hate it. And now you're getting questions that you've had to answer over and over again. That's because you built an environment where the team is scared to do anything without asking for your permission and they just want to be told what to do, right? That's essentially what you built there. When you step into that coach and consultant role, now you're starting to build a decentralized operation where the team around you can think on their own and they're okay with thinking on their own. And now you're going to get them to the point where they come to you enough times and you ask them those right questions to lead them to solution. Now, when they come up with the next situation, they're going to start asking themselves those questions. Like, well, all right, well, what would Jay say in this situation? He would say, well, have you considered this and this and this? And you're just teaching them to think critically. Again, building them up as individuals to be strong leaders inside of your team. So my friends, I've rambled on enough here. I hope this conversation was valuable for you. I hope it makes you think differently about how you're leading your team. Again, we go into in-depth trainings on this stuff inside of Legacy Farmer with our group there because it's just so powerful and it's constantly changing too. And there's all these different situations here that we're building up and kind of facing here inside of our group. So anyways, guys, that concludes today's episode. Hope you found it valuable and we will catch you on the next one.